Welcome to the Swine Time Podcast here at Pipestone. I am Spencer Wayne. I'm one of the staff veterinarians. I'm one of the owners in Pipestone Holdings. I'm one of the old dudes that's been around here a while, and besides working with farmers, they let me host this podcast, and we get to have all sorts of different visitors. Visitor I have today, or the guest we have today, is Erin Little, who I've known for quite a while. Erin, when I first met you, you would have been in research.
Yep.
And then now you are in records.
Yep.
For us. So she's a very numbers-oriented person. And I know that about you. And then I also found out you have a different passion, which is nutrition. And I'll just turn it over to you because Erin has thoughts she'd like to share, the Erin thoughts. She knows probably more about how to think about food and nutrition than most of us think about regularly.
Yeah. Thanks, Spencer. Yeah, I'm Erin Little. I've been with Pipestone over 10 years. So I started with the research team. I got my undergrad from SDSU. I loaded fat hogs and did weekend chores. And I really enjoyed it. I liked math. I liked data. But I also liked being in the pig barns and learning more about production. I did that for about a few years, went back to SDSU and got my master's in genetics. So more math, more statistics, which I enjoyed, and then also applying that to how producers can, improve their facilities and their production. And then January of 2025, I got the opportunity to switch roles and become the director of farm stats. So that would be our grow finish record service that we offer in Pipestone Business, and very similar to research in the way that we're looking at producers' data every day. But even more fun than that is we get to sit down with them and talk about their own data. And so that's like we were talking about earlier, that's probably my favorite part. 2 to 3 days a week, I get to sit across from them at the kitchen table and talk through their benchmark and their production and what they can improve on, what they had a good year at, and kind of make some goals and then the next year see how that progression improves. So like a basic concept that I've seen play out over and over again is we know we raise pigs and we record stuff, but then when you start putting the numbers together of how they grew, how you marketed them, stories start to come up, and then you can get excited because now we know what to do with the numbers we saw. Yep. And
so related to this, you apply numbers to how we look at pork and eating pork and preparing pork. And I'll stop and let you tell me some things I know that are on your mind about this because you apply an analytic view or numbers-oriented view to how we consume pork. So why don't you take us somewhere that you think we need to go?
So I would say I've always been a very active person. I and then at the same time, always been very I'm aware of what I'm eating and watching nutrition facts and being well versed in what is the ideal caloric intake. How much protein should I be eating, carbs and fats? Like that's something that I've just always been intrigued in because it's math. It's math and I'm a very active person. I have 3 kids. I want all those, I want us to be eating well-balanced meals. And I just enjoy learning about it.
Okay.
Kind of all of that put together, I would say has made me very aware and, educated on nutrition, human nutrition.
All right. Yeah. So you'll be very analytic, more than the normal person might be, than other people might be. So we work with pigs. Our clients raise pigs. We all know that pork is the best protein, even though my family tends to be a little bit of a beef snob sometimes. I have to push pork to them, but we all know pork is good and we want to encourage pork consumption as well as our good production practices. Take us through some of the thoughts you have as you walk through the grocery store to shop for yourself or your family on looking at pork as a high value proposition protein.
Yeah.
Take us through some of the math. I know you've thought through it, how much you consume, how you consume it, how efficient it could be. If you're looking at pork as the choice protein, why?
Yeah.
And how would you explain that to somebody else, why it would be a good proposition?
Yeah. So, when I walk through a grocery store, right, I think we see protein on everything, right? And I think that's a trend of the times, right? I mean, athleisure is huge. People are counting their macros, they're tracking their protein, their carbs, their fats. which I think is really good, right? We're concentrated. We're seeing GLP-1s on the market. We're seeing a lot of things that are driving human
What's
trends.
GLP-1 is Ozempic, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. We're just overall seeing a shift towards the fact that we want to eat healthy, we want to be healthy, which is great. At the same time, we've also learned that a big part of that is protein, right? And so we know that whether we gain or lose weight is a product of calories in, calories out. Like it's math. It's math. But as a whole, right? I mean, even if we're trying to lose weight, nobody's trying to lose muscle. Or I shouldn't say nobody, but in general, right, the consensus is if you're maintaining or losing weight, you'd want to maintain muscle mass. And so for all those things to be true, keeping a high protein diet is crucial. I would say, an appropriate number there is based off your current body weight, 0.8 to 1 grams of protein in terms of total body weight.
Okay, so I weigh 200 pounds, so I need, what is that, 160 grams of protein. That'd be one rule of thumb per day, right?
Yeah, I think that's an appropriate number, and that's something, you should work through with your nutritionist or your doctor. But, for me, that's a general rule of thumb for an adult that I like to maintain. And, with family, with kids, right? I mean, as long as your kids are eating and healthy, right? I mean, that's maybe a little bit different, but
I'm not going to talk to my doctor about this. Yeah. He's a good friend of mine, but I'm going to just probably make a decision on my own.
Okay.
But good disclaimer. So 160 grams of protein, if you were going to add it up, that's about what you want to have a day.
Yeah. And so let's say you got a vacation coming up, right? You want to lose a little bit of weight, but if you were to keep that 160 grams of protein, then your hope would be then to lose fat at that point and maintain the muscle that you've got.
What about efficient delivery of protein related to calories?
Yeah.
It's a little bit different concept. Now, just looking, not total protein, but I'm going to consume stuff. I know you mentioned there's a ratio, or use some of your analytic number skills for that. What's that math you had on? Yeah.
Honestly, let's just walk through an example that I've got here. So,
you got the little nutrition boxes in front of you.
I've got 2 nutrition boxes. So I've got a pork loin and I've got a protein Pop-Tart. And so two different options from the grocery store. And so
nutrition box, for the people that can't see it, that's the little black and white label that's on the side of a package of food that has the calories and the salt and everything else in it.
And so for the pork loin, for one serving, it's 120 calories. And so then down the left, you've got fat. The big things would be fat, carbohydrates, and protein. And so it's 21 grams of protein in one serving. And so 120 calories to 21 grams of protein. And so if I'm walking through the grocery store and I'm looking maybe between 2 options, the quick math I'm doing in my head is I'm adding a 0 to the end of the protein. And so I'm taking the 21 grams of protein and I'm mentally noting 210. Okay. And then I'm comparing that to the calories in the serving, which is 120 calories. And so the 210 to the 120, that's almost 2 times or 2x the amount of protein relative to the calories. And so in my head, 2 times that, if it's 2x, that's a phenomenal source of protein. That's a very protein efficient source.
Okay. For the calories you take in, a lot of protein comes with it.
Yep. And so like a 1-to-1, 1.5 to 1, or a 2 to 1, all great high protein ratios.
And that's a pork loin.
That's a pork loin. Yep.
Okay. So for whatever calories a pork loin you consume, it's got a lot of protein coming with it.
Yep. That's a very high source of protein.
Compared to what other protein product? This is a protein Pop-Tart?
The protein Pop-Tart down below. So a little bit different here. So this for one serving, which I'm assuming is 2 Pop-Tarts. I'm in one package, I'm assuming. Here's 400 calories and 10 grams of protein. And so if we, again, do that same type of mental math where we add a 0 to the protein, it's 100 to 400 calories. And so that's a quarter or 25%. Mm-hmm. And so in my head, although that told you on the label it was a high protein or it was a protein Pop-Tart, I wouldn't consider that to be a high protein option.
No, it's a fraction. It's an 1/8 of the amount.
Yep.
The other one. But that's literally, we're saying that's a protein Pop-Tart. It's a Pop-Tart that said, eat this Pop-Tart if you're protein health conscious. It's labeled as a protein source.
And if you're a bodybuilder, you're in a situation where your calories in are very high because you have strenuous activity and you're trying to build a lot of muscle. Maybe that is a good source for you. Maybe that is what you want. But if you're somebody who is maintaining your caloric input a little bit more and not doing a lot of strenuous activity, my assumption is that that's going to be way out of bounds for your total calories you need in a day.
Yeah, because I figured it out. I had to eat, like, to get my protein amount, 16 Pop-Tarts I think I had to eat to get the amount of protein I needed. That came with a lot more calories.
6,000 calories probably? Yeah. It's about probably 2 or 3 times your...
Okay, so
maintenance.
Pork is an efficient protein delivery method. Like, you're going to get a protein-dense option if you eat pork, just pork meat.
Yep.
Okay. What else?
I think, the last 6 months at all the conferences we've been at, the conversations we've had, we've seen a shift in the conversation. We're still talking about how to raise pigs, and we're still talking about the best way to do it, but we're also talking about the right side of that equation, which is the demand piece, right? I mean, we're talking about market price. We're talking about, how to see that maximized. And the best way, or one of the ways that we can do that, is to have more of a conversation about the demand side of the equation, especially domestically, and how we as producers can do our part to increase demand, make it more appealing.
Close to home, actually my home, when I go home and I say, oh, what are we going to have for supper? And ask the kids, and they, well, we don't know. And so I said, I'm going to thaw some ground pork out or whatever I might have in the freezer. And they say, no, Dad, I don't want that. They tend to want beef, which is a point of great humiliation for me because I work within the pork industry. And then my family tends to be a beef snob family. No matter what I do, they gravitate towards beef. Got any comments on how, okay, that's just my own little family thing, but, increasing demand starting with your family by them liking things would be a big, or your neighbors, or good ways to prepare pork that are easy and really good tasting that would drive demand starting in the home, maybe.
Yeah. I think the first one, right, is cooking temp. And we've seen that. We've seen, different entities push that. And, cooking pork to 140, key, right? And so the more that we can preach that is most important thing. I think the other thing, right, is the other parts of the pig. Bacon has done a great job for the industry, but it's not the only part of the pig. We used pork loin as our reference for our math equation earlier, right? And for me, pork loin is a great option. I have 3 little kids, and they'd eat chicken nuggets every meal if they could. And they're not cheap. And for us, I also then am looking for something for me and my husband to eat. And so then do we make something else for us? Do we eat chicken nuggets? There's a few pieces there. And so
what's a good alternative to chicken nuggets you've figured out?
Yeah.
With that?
So we like to take a pork loin, and like to cut it into thirds. And my husband will season the 1/3 the way he wants to. I'll season a third the way I want to, and then I'll bake the other third with maybe some salt and pepper, something pretty basic, and then dice it up for the kids. And it's like little unbreaded pork nuggets, and for them, like they don't know the difference. I mean, I guess the breading's not there, but flavor wise, they really like it, and it's much more affordable. Me and my husband have a healthy, high protein, efficient meal as well. And it's quick, it's effortless. So,
well, nobody doesn't like pork loin that's done right. It's juicy. I mean, you can dry it out if you overcook it, or if you definitely can overcook pork chops. But like a loin that you've done on the grill, done right, pulled off the right temperature, really good. Neighbors tend to like that. Easy for the family. I think that's an easy one. Like how to do a pork loin. If you do a few things, basic things there, you can't screw it up too bad.
No.
What's other ways that if you had friends over that you would prepare pork that people said, "Dang, this is good"?
Yeah, I would say the other option, or the other thing I think about a lot, is ground pork. And so I personally don't prefer like the sausage seasoning that would come in like pork sausage. And so we buy all of our pork when we get a pig butchered unseasoned. And so it's just ground pork. And for us, I love that because in my opinion, it's better flavored than beef for Italian dishes because it's a little bit sweeter. And so from a flavor profile perspective, it tastes really good. It does really well in red sauce or white sauce Italian dishes with like a basil base. But also with anything else that you would traditionally use ground beef for, it's a great replacement for. You can season it up to your liking, whatever your end goal is, and it's a more affordable option. Or you could blend it with ground beef. If you have people that are sticklers for the flavor of ground beef, you could blend it, and that would be a much more affordable option.
All right. So kind of backing up to the initial question, we know pork is a great option. How could you think through using it? You went through some math on looking at the protein to grams of protein to calories ratio, just as a quick judgment of how efficient it is. If you're looking at stuff for your family, your kids, or yourself, price wise, 3 to 4x. Beef would be 3 to 4x the cost of pork, and then kind of leading into what do you do with it? It can be used anywhere beef can be used for a hot dish type option, right?
Right.
So that'd be a way to prepare it there. The loin's easy, cheap, and easy. Back to that, it's a simple option. All right, Erin, if we didn't have anything else we missed, that's probably covered the bases there. I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks to our listeners, too, for tuning into this episode of the Swine Time Podcast.
The Swine Time Podcast was created for the pork industry and individual pork producers around the country. Hosted by me, Dr. Spencer Wayne with Pipestone Veterinary Services, the podcast contains pork industry news, advancements in animal care, and how to enhance your productivity. Find the Swine Time Podcast at www.pipestone.com or on your favorite listening platform.